child that your skin can bring you so much pain. Now I hear you say you got the best of both ways. Won't you come and take a walk in my shoes and tell me if you take my place?
All right, Jessica Hull, welcome to the Inside Running Podcast. Thanks for giving up some of your July 4th over there in the United States to have a chat to the listeners and myself today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to it as well because you're pretty much, I'd go out and say it, that you're pretty much the biggest name in Australian distance running right now. So we're pretty kind of stoked to have you on the show, especially after the Prefontaine Classic just last weekend.
I don't know if I would say quite that yet.
You can't say it yourself, but we can say it.
Yeah, thanks. I'm looking forward to talking running with you guys and recapping Prefontaine and just seeing where it takes us.
Yeah, well, do you want to go there first? You were kind of 7th across the line, 4:02, 4th fastest Australian of all time now, and got that Tokyo qualifier. And you didn't look like it was your first pro race. Like we kind of said on our podcast last week, it was pretty impressive how you kind of went straight to the front and kind of stuck around and really put yourself in there with a chance.
Yeah, I kind of just wanted to, I think my program over here, my coaches at the University of Oregon have always emphasized that no matter the stage, you don't need to do anything different or anything special. You just kind of do what you know, and hopefully that's going to yield the kind of result that you're looking for. So I definitely just carried that into Prefontaine and took in the moment and soaked it up and kind of just went out there and did what I know, which is competing in the NCA has kind of taught me that you've got to put yourself in it and run where you belong, and kind of just carried that in and kind of, just fake it till you make it, I guess, and stuck my nose in it and was really happy with what came of it.
Yeah, cool. And like, were you nervous and stuff, like your first pro race being the Prefontaine kind of classic?
Yeah, it was a different kind of nerves because at the end of the day, there wasn't really any pressure on me. This was kind of just a bit of a bonus at the end of our NCA season, was can kind of go down and sort of see how fast I can run, whereas a lot of the time we focus on competing and trying to put yellow in front of all the other colours out there. So it was a different kind of nerve. It was more of a like just kind of didn't really know what to expect nerve in terms of the competition. Like I kind of knew what paces I was capable of, but I didn't really know how the physicality of the race was going to be. But it was really good having the meet down at Stanford because I was pretty familiar with like the process of a competition down there because we've gone down there a couple of times this year and a few times in the years past. So it would have been really fitting if it was at Hayward Field this year. It would have been probably the perfect transition into my first race as a pro. But Stanford was definitely the next best thing, and there's a lot of comfort factors there, which helps me keep the nerves under control and just focus on like making the most of the opportunity that I've been handed.
Yeah, you're right. Because in a way, it's kind of like a bigger version than what you've been doing, I suppose, the last couple of years being at college over there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's like the NCA is pretty. If you're a little bit off on race day, like it can be pretty brutal. So I think I've been exposed to a lot of different scenarios through my racing over here that kind of just made me. I went into the race knowing like it was a big step above anything I'd ever done, but I went in kind of knowing that if I was out there and I knew I belonged out there, then it would be a little bit more special than if I was standing there as a nervous wreck and trying to just like scrape it together. So yeah, I just tried to carry that little bit of confidence that the NCA has given me into the big stage and sort of see how it translated.
I think it translated pretty well. And like, were you expecting a time of around 4:02, or did something in training indicate that? I know you ran pretty, 3 seconds slower at the NCAA final a few weeks earlier.
Yeah, I kind of, I knew there was more there after the NCA time. I knew I was in about that 4:05, 4:06 shape at NCAAs. But I knew there was a lot to be gained in terms of some speed work over the following 3 weeks leading in with some tune-up work to Prefontaine. And then we'd kind of became clear that I could probably handle 64s if that was the pace that they went out at. There's a little bit of talk about the rabbit being aimed for 205 through 800, and I knew if that was the case, I was going to have to sit a little bit off it. But we also knew from having watched a bunch of the Diamond League so far this year and Prefontaine historically, a lot of the time the pace might be 205, but the pack's about 207, 208. And that was kind of my mentality of like putting myself right in it initially, was that if the pack is going to go through in 27, 28, like I can be right there. So it was, that was kind of why I positioned myself up the front, was because I knew I could handle 64s. And if it was going to be 208, I wanted to be in the mix and not coming through in 210, because I just wanted to make sure I got the most out of the day and not one walk away being like, oh, what if I had have committed earlier or something like that.
And when you say we, Jess, talking about like watching the videos and kind of studying the...
Yeah.
So who's we now that you... Does things change when you turn pro with your coaching and stuff?
Yeah, so we, for the last 3.5, 4 weeks, has been Dad and I, actually. Back to basics. Back to Dad. He, so my family came over here for NCAs, which was super special to have them in Austin, especially... Like, I hadn't competed at a NCAA outdoors that wasn't at Hayward Field. So it was great to have, we had a huge team qualifier, and then I had my family there. So it definitely felt like home, even though we were in Austin this year. And then, because I had my graduation ceremonies the following week, so my family came back to Eugene, and then Dad was like, I'm not missing Prefontaine. So he'd been over here. He went home yesterday, but he'd been in the States with me for 4 weeks. So he's kind of been the eyes in the program behind me from NCAs through to Prefontaine. But obviously my fitness level at NCAs and my base work and how strong I am is a huge credit to Helen Lehman Winters here at the U of O and my coaching staff around me here. So it's been Dad and I for the last 4 weeks, but it's been a big team effort overall all year. So,
yeah. I want to get to your dad and talk about your junior career, but going forward, does that mean that your dad will still continue to coach you by correspondence and stuff over there? What's the plans?
Yeah, so right now I'm in the middle of finalizing my next step. So I don't really have too much information to share right now on that, which is I wish I was a little further along and I could share that with you guys. But contract negotiations and stuff, they take a little bit of time, and I'm being pretty patient with it because I want to make sure I make the right choice. So for the meantime, it's kind of just Dad's knowledge, and I'm taking a down week this week, so that's pretty simple. So and then I'll be in Eugene here for another couple of weeks, and hopefully I'll have things sorted pretty soon. But meanwhile, I've got Dad, and I've got his background, and he knows me better than anyone. So I think we work together pretty well as a team, so there's no rush to need to change that. Yeah,
for sure. I think it's working for you. And the process of turning pro, does that, obviously you signed with Total Sports US, and then that kind of means you've gone pro, and then you start talking about different contracts and sponsorships through them. Is that how it works for the kind of listeners at home?
Yeah, that's how it works. And it's only really, I was like actually kind of shocked at how big the whole turning pro thing is considered to be here. Yeah. And I think it's more so because I had another year of if I wanted to keep going in the NCAA, I had another outdoor season of eligibility I had. So I think that's why it seems like a bigger thing than like the natural progression, is because like I could have came back to the NCAA next year, but just as the season's gone on and I've been like looking for kind of what's next and like what challenge makes the most sense to tackle next, it became clear that maybe the next step was to kind of go out a year earlier and start getting some big experience leading into an Olympic year, and all that comes beyond that. So I think that's why it seems like a big thing compared to at home, where you kind of just like once you're done at high school, you're not really committed to anything else until like you do have that kind of professional contract. But yeah, so here you get, once you sign with an agent, you forgo all of your eligibility, and that remains if you have any remaining. So I signed with Total Sports, and that meant that, okay, I'm definitely not going to take that 5th year of eligibility, and then it starts to mean I can start having some conversations and just communicating with some coaches and some shoe sponsors and trying to get the ball rolling in that department.
Yeah, cool. And racing all over the place, like not just in the States, I suppose.
Yeah, starting to get my feet wet on the international scene, which was nice to do stateside first up, and then hopefully I can get over to Europe about mid-August and start to see how that all goes.
Yeah, and because you don't do that 5th year, does that affect like your degree, or how does that work with the study?
Yeah, no, it's been it sort of it didn't affect it because I have foreseen it coming since for the last, at least for the last term, going into our spring term, I kind of knew what was coming, so I started to think ahead a little bit. And I've always been progressing along with my degree really well and keeping up with the classes I needed to be at for each time of the year. So it actually meant it didn't change too much academically whatsoever because I was on track to graduate pretty much in. I was on track to be done with classes basically in December and then have just a couple of like really small credits to finish up in January to March next year. And then I wouldn't have had any school during the outdoor season last year. So it really didn't change anything. It just kind of fast tracked the next like month or so, just trying to finish up in summer school. So rather than waiting around for another 6 months to finish the degree, I'm getting it done now. So
Yeah, so that must have had a bit of like input as well to make the decision a bit easier, knowing that the degree was taken care of, and that the fact that you were kind of winning or coming close to winning every race as well is probably a good time to step into a bigger pond and race some bigger fish.
Yeah, absolutely. Once I had the academic confirmation that I would have my degree, I was like, yep, okay, all right. I'm not skipping any steps, so we can go on and start thinking ahead.
And talking academic stuff, Jess, I did some research last night and I found this quote that said Jessica Hull has earned a spot on the Google Cloud Academic All-American third team as announced on Thursday. Can you maybe explain what that means? Because it didn't make much sense to me over here in Australia.
Yeah, so actually Morgan McDonald is on there too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And we both got similar. I think we were both named on it for cross country as well, which was pretty cool. We're like, yep, go the Aussies. We've got we can hit the track hard, but we can also hit the books.
So what is it?
Yeah, but it kind of it's just a so if you're an All American, which is a top 8 finish in track, that is cross country, it's top 40, and your GPA is above, I think a cumulative 3.3, then you just like it's like an academic acknowledgement that you're balancing your sport and your studies to a high degree kind of thing.
Yeah, awesome. And psychology, is that the degree you've got?
Yeah, so my main degree, I'm a human physiology major, and then I have a psychology minor, so and a business minor as well. I kind of I was whizzing through the classes because I've always taken summer school, even when I've come home in the summers, because I can take it online. I don't function too well when I don't have anything else about my day to do. So I've ticked along the classes pretty quickly. So I picked up the psych and the business minor to sort of drag it out so that if I did want to take my 5th year, I was going to be academically able to as well, because you've got to be in a certain number of credits to be eligible to play your sport. So
it sounds like you're going to be really organised, knowing when, what to study when, and kind of have it all kind of structured pretty well.
Yeah, and that's we have everything at our fingertips here. We've got academic advisors and tutors and all of those sorts of things that help us stay on top of school while we're on the road and traveling to compete as well. But it's definitely a habit that you just have to learn over time, and you get better at it over time, for sure. If I look back now at my freshman year, I'm just like, even my junior year last year, I was in a pretty heavy anatomy and physiology sequence, and I'm kind of like, how did I do that? But at the time, you kind of just figure out a way and figure out what balance works for you, and don't get too hung up on making sure everything is absolutely perfect. You just have to get it done and take in as much information as you can while also preparing your best to hit the start line.
Tell us about your experience of being over there at college, because we've had Morgan on and Jess Pascoe and Dave McNeil as well.
Yep.
They've kind of all shared about their time in the system over there. But do you want to give us a bit of a maybe why Oregon, and then like what a kind of general day or week kind of looks like, how you balance that and kind of have that lifestyle?
Yeah, well, I think when people ask me why Oregon, I always kind of just I don't really know what to say. It's kind of like, why not Oregon?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, more just that. So we came here in 2014 for World Juniors, and it was just a really like nice place. And to be honest, it doesn't feel foreign at all. I feel very at home here. And then when we started to explore the option of coming over here to go to school, and I sort of first talked to the coach, which was Marisa Powell at that point, I felt like I had such a connection to her instantly, and I knew I was going to be looked after, and I knew that what I wanted to accomplish was equally as important to her, and I trusted her, and we just started to build a really solid relationship. And it just kind of made it very natural to me. It was like, okay, that's definitely the right place for me. The team was awesome, and it's been awesome my whole 4 years here, which is it's very special. Like the team component. I think we get a little taste of that at home in cross country when you in high school days where you're trying to make the relay team for the Monday after national cross country. You get a little bit of taste of what it's like to be on a strong team like that in those school sport relays. But when you come over here, it's on a whole nother level, and it definitely makes you rise to the occasion, and you can get a lot more out of yourself than you ever thought was possible based on the team that's around you. And that's what I've been lucky to have every day here at Oregon. So, yeah.
And the lifestyle, like what is the normal, like you see all the photos on Instagram and it looks like you've got so much cool gear, like all the Nike Oregon stuff all looks awesome, and it kind of, you see how you've got all these different coaches and trainers, like, and the facilities must be amazing, must be a great place to train and kind of, I guess, develop after that high school stage.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. It's pretty overwhelming, really, if you think of it as a high schooler coming in. Everything that you will have at your disposal here, if you choose to tap in and buy into that. But yeah, they look after us incredibly well. We have obviously they have a big connection with Nike, and sometimes they give us stuff and I'm still like, wow, like really, like we don't need all of this, but you certainly appreciate everything and every little thing that comes your way. But in terms of facilities, it's pretty crazy. There's a lot of ways that if there's not really a reason to get injured here if you're staying on top of everything, because you just have so many. Our training staff are awesome, our physios, biomechanics, everything like that, weight room, underwater treadmills, tons of Alta-Gs. Everything is just right here and easily accessible. And I think that's what you find on a lot of campuses over here, is just everything that you need to make that next jump and to make that next step and to stay healthy is a lot more easily accessible than if you're kind of at home and you have to kind of source it yourself. So it's perfect for our age bracket, because you're kind of there's no excuse, like it's all here. You kind of just got to make the most of each day and make sure you're staying healthy and doing the little things that matter and add up over time.
It's almost like you treat it like a pro, like it's all those facilities you just listed. There'd be a few professional athletes who wouldn't have that.
We joke about that, is like you're almost a professional athlete and you're just combining it with your studies, which is it's a pretty ideal lifestyle.
Yeah. Will that be a challenge now, leaving that lifestyle, you think?
It definitely could be. That will probably depend on based on where I end up and what I have around me in that setting. So ideally, hopefully I'm going to be transitioning into a group or a setup that's pretty close to what I've had here. But at the end of the day, like, it's pretty incredible what we've had here, and I remind myself that every day. I still walk into the training room and I'm like, wow, blown away at what we've got and what they're coming up with for us and all of that. So I think definitely appreciate what I've had here and over my time, but I'm hoping that my next setup is going to align pretty similarly. As long as I've got some of the basics, then I think I'll be okay.
Yeah, and you know what you need around you now to be successful, so you kind of got that model and you just need to replicate it somewhere else.
Absolutely.
And like your love for Oregon, all you got to do is kind of scroll through your Instagram and like you just absolutely love that place. They must be stoked to have an Australian on board to come into their system and just I look at some of the photos and I think that you'd take a bullet for some of your kind of training partners and coaches and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And that's just like, that's the bond of sport in general too. But definitely here, like you go to the well with these girls every day in practice. Like it does something pretty special to you. Like you get a lot closer than is like humanly possible in other settings. So yeah, it's definitely hard work and grinding alongside each other. It builds something pretty special, and we've been lucky to have an awesome team culture that continues to grow, and each year group that comes in just brings something a little bit different, and it's pretty awesome because it's constantly evolving and it gets fresher each year, and we get stronger as a team.
Going into that system, was it a bit of a shock to start off with? Because like outside the NCAAs, it's not kind of replicated everywhere else in the world where you do have that super strong culture of teamwork in distance running.
Yeah, it was definitely different. Especially coming from at home, it was Dad and I, so we trained on our own schedule and we ran when it suited with us. And yeah, but coming in here, and it really does not take long. It probably depends on the person, but if you're extremely open to it, it sort of encapsulates you pretty quickly, and you sort of start to realize the value in it, and you very quickly start to buy into it, and it's pretty contagious. Is like the energy amongst the team is if you've got someone in the team that's really starting to try and harbor that culture, it catches on really quickly, and it's pretty special.
Yeah, cool. And you all live together and like eat together, like all the meals and stuff are catered for?
Yeah, yeah. So we don't live in the dorms, which is a bit different to some of the schools. From freshman year, we don't have to live in dorms. Some schools make freshmen do dorms for the first year, but we've always had we kind of just live in apartments with someone from the team or multiple girls. Like I live with 3 other girls from the distance group right now, and we don't cook together because we're on a different schedule, but we're usually cooking at the same time. And especially this year, we've all taken a bit more of a ownership over our cooking and being a bit more prepared with our food, which I think we all bought the Shalane Flanagan cookbook, and
Oh, yeah.
we joke it's become a bit of our Bible, which we always joke if someone cooks something good, we're like, oh, which page is that one from? Because we sort of stick to it pretty hard, but it's all part of the distance running culture. You start to enjoy all the little pieces that go into helping you perform at your best, and that's another piece of it. And we have a lot of fun in our apartment. It's constantly someone's baking granola or banana bread or something along those tracks, and yeah, it's we spend a lot of time together, that's for sure.
And your progression as an athlete over there, like you were, national champion and stuff in juniors over here, and you'd won a national cross and like pretty credentialed going over there, but was it a bit of a shock to the system in your first kind of cross country race over there? I know you had that big breakthrough I think you were 93rd in the cross in 2017 and then went to 3rd in 2018, so big jumps even though you were pretty good when you went over there.
Yeah, my freshman cross country season was eye-opening, that's for sure. I didn't progress beyond the conference meet. I ran on our Pac-12 team, and I was 9th out of 9th within our team, which meant I wasn't even going to be the alternate for nationals, which I think at the time it was a massive learning curve, because you go from running at home where maybe if you start to break away in a say a 6K, there's about 4 or 5 girls that might go with you. But here it's getting off the line, there's a pack of 60 women that are all capable of running 20, 30 for a 6K. And it's pretty daunting. So I think it's definitely coming in. It was just different to see like the masses of people that are as good as like a handful of the girls that we were racing at home. And it's an adjustment to getting comfortable to running in massive packs and just staying relaxed and learning how to run your own race within a massive race in itself. So yeah, it was definitely, I learned a lot in that first cross country season. And then my second cross country season, we actually won NCAAs as a team out in Terre Haute, which was incredible. And it was kind of unfathomable at the start of the year that was going to be the end outcome. But it was a huge day for us in Terre Haute, and everyone just kind of ran their perfect day, which is more than we could have asked for, is to have 5 of our scoring girls put together the perfect day at the same time. Was pretty incredible, and it hadn't been something that we'd foreseen coming all year. But cross country over here is just like it's so different to anything else.
Well, even to like the Nara courses and like the tough ones in Australia.
Yeah, well, not in terms of the courses, because a lot of the time the courses are not that challenging, especially when you think of like we grew up running Nara down there. I would run there probably 3 or 4 times a year when it come through the school's regional system, state championships, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time here, it's a perfectly manicured golf course.
Yeah.
Except for Wisconsin this year with the snow, which was
Yeah.
that was a once in a lifetime experience. And but yeah, so the courses isn't the thing; it's more just the body of people, and there's almost a sense of you can definitely call it naivety for the first, probably for people's freshman sophomore years, is just everything looks the same. Is like 80th looks like 20th, and 100th isn't glamorous, but it looks like you might move up and end up in an all-American position. And it's just getting used to fighting for every single position, whether you're in the top 10 or whether you're in the hundreds. Like, it's a different sort of mentality, and you've got to shift towards no, okay, it really matters if I'm 105th versus 101st, because that's huge team points or something like that. So kind of just getting used to figuring out what the body of people looks like, and getting used to being, okay, I'm competing for something bigger than myself out here. Like, I'm trying to score as little points as possible for my team. So taking all of that out of the big pack and kind of remembering why you're out there is the thing that takes a long time to learn compared to the spread that we're used to seeing back in Australia.
Yeah, and you're right. You have a bad day and you lose like 70 spots at a cross-country race. It's pretty competitive.
It's pretty easily.
And that's a team score change dramatically. And like, from going from someone who didn't get or make their kind of cross-country team in their first race to then winning on the track in 2018 at home as well, that must have been pretty special to kind of see it all come full circle.
Yeah, that was incredible, and it was so special, and it was very special for my coach and I, because she knew it was there, and she was so patient with me while I started to piece things together, and we got a little bit of glimpse of it in the 2016 track season. No, it must have been the 2017 track season. We got a small glimpse of it starting to come together, and she believed in me every single day, and she had this she made me sort of see the belief in myself, and to see it come together for both of us on Hayward Field that day was pretty special, and I'm pretty sure it's something we'll both like harbour close to our hearts for a long time. And to do it at home at Hayward Field, like Trackdown USA, there truly hasn't been anywhere that I've been in the world yet that can give Trackdown USA a run for their money and their track knowledge and how much they love the Ducks and anyone that's been a member of the Oregon track and field team. So it was incredibly special to be able to do that at home.
And do you work with like a sports psychologist on the team there, or is that your coach? She's kind of like, you know, giving you that belief and confidence?
Yeah, I do work with a sports psychologist. His name is Dr. Treasure, and he just a lot of the time will go through. He doesn't provide too much of our. He doesn't really structure our conversations with him. He prefers, like, we have our race plan and we go to him and we'll like kind of regurgitate our race plan, so that it also helps us clarify what we're doing. And then once we talk about the race plan once, we won't talk about it again, and we go back to, okay, well, how are we gonna process that kind of thing? Is like, how are you gonna chunk that up while you're out there on the track amidst the chaos and stay calm? And we sort of knock it right back to the process, and then evaluate the outcome based on how well we did that process, rather than the actual number that you finished.
Yeah, cool. Pretty cool doctor's name as well, Dr. Treasure.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it?
Worth going to see, yeah, for sure. Hey, let's go back to your juniors, Jess. You started pretty early, as you said, mentioned a couple of times. You had your dad as your coach, and he was a pretty handy runner as well in the day, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. 800, 1500. He's definitely pretty handy for his age.
Got any times? What were his PBs?
See, I actually don't know these. I should know them. People, I know. People have asked me this before, and I always just tell them to ask him.
Quicker than 4:02.
Oh yeah, he's got the family record in the 1500. That's for sure. I want to say 352. I think. Yeah. And then for the 800, probably 154. Yeah. I would say, but he stopped running when he was like 15, 16, and went and played football. So.
Yeah, he done all those as a junior.
Yeah, that was all as a junior, combining it with soccer, rugby league, as long as he could, and then just went and played straight rugby league.
Yeah, well, there's some talent there then that he's obviously passed down.
Absolutely, I've been lucky to get the genes.
And then, so like, were you 7? Did I read? Was that right when you started running?
Yeah, just school cross country. It
Yeah.
was we all from grade 2. You always like everyone has to do it, and so I went to the school cross country carnival, and I was like, I actually like this, and made the district meet. And at that point, it was like, okay, well, your training can like my training was get up every morning and we would run 10-15 minutes, and that was it, kind of thing. And then I didn't really get into the actual like session side of things until I was about, I think, like 10 or 11, and even then it was very very like very very lax. Like there was not too much emphasis placed on anything until maybe I was about 13 or 14. We started doing some like real sessions, but I've always been pretty well looked after in development. Like dad was very cautious with me. We never pushed the envelope too hard, and we left room to grow each year. And if anything, we definitely held back a lot, which has allowed me to have the progression I've had now, because I've got a really good foundation behind me.
Yeah, there's a lot of kids that, peak at 15, 16 and then, and nowhere at 22. So you've kind of done the opposite, just kind of coasted through.
Yeah, just got to do enough to get through each year and always have somewhere to go.
And that, like, your relationship with your dad, obviously, would be pretty special just in general without the running stuff, but he must get so much kind of pride watching you race and be successful.
Oh, absolutely. It's very special, and it's great because we both understand how much it means to, like, I understand how much it means to him, like how much he wants me to achieve what I want to achieve. Like it's a very reciprocated feeling, and it's pretty special to have someone who knows exactly what it means to me as we build through the process. And yeah, it's cool to. It was definitely pretty cool to kind of see last Sunday come together, because I knew how much he'd put into it over, even though we'd only been working together again for about 3.5 weeks, but I knew how much he'd put into it and how much he wanted me to go out there and run to my potential. So it was pretty cool to do it, and then see him get the credit he deserves from quite a few people around us, which was pretty special because he deserves everything that comes his way.
And is he a big fan of the sport as well? Like if you weren't racing Prefontaine Classic and he just happened to be in the States, he'd still be going to watch?
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's been in his element the last 4 weeks here in Eugene, because it's just there's so much running that you can immerse yourself in here, and he loves the sport with a passion, and he's passed that on to me very, very much so. Like I enjoy competing in the sport, but I also love the sport, which is a pretty special thing to do. And I think a lot of people sometimes get the two crossed over. You have to they think you have to love it because you do it, but like I love the sport and I choose to do the sport. So I think I've been pretty lucky that he's passed that down to me, and he's really enjoyed watching just some of the boys that are on the team. They've still been doing their workouts down at South Eugene, and he's been watching and just he's been in his absolute element here.
Yeah, so cool. And then, like, going forward, obviously Tokyo's on the radar now. You've got the time. You weren't at Nationals, so you kind of got to wait for the selection. It wasn't a guaranteed spot having the win at the Australian Championships, but that must be a huge focus going forward now.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty. It kind of all just happened so fast. Like when we ran the world standard back in NCAA's, it was kind of 3 weeks ahead of schedule. Like I assumed that was gonna have to wait until Prefontaine. And then we got after it in the final at NCAA's, and it was like, oh wow, we checked that box. I mean, it was only I only just got the standard a couple of weeks ago. I was a couple of tenths under this year's world standard, but it was still like a check mark next to that box. And then it kind of took a little bit of the if anything, any sort of pressure that I was putting on myself going into Prefontaine was I knew I wanted to have the world standard. And so once I had that, it was just a matter of like, go out there and compete and put myself in it, and maybe we can check that Olympic standard off too. And it's kind of a very unique position to put whoever my coach ends up being next into, is that they can look at a long-term build-up now.
You've done the work.
We don't have to go and chase times or find races. Like we can reset and like start looking at like a long-term build-up into, well, first off Doha now, and then as long as Athletics Australia makes that selection official, and then sort of again into Tokyo, we can really structure my next 12 months based on making the most of that opportunity when the Olympics comes around, rather than having to peak a little bit, chase a time, and then figure out how we hold that through an Olympic cycle. So yeah, we're in a bit of a special spot.
Amazing situation to be in this far out. Yeah, it's a good, especially first pro race. It's a good box to tick.
Yeah.
And then in general, Jess, what does a week of training look like? Do you mind just taking us through? Say you've got a race coming up in 3 or 4 weeks, so kind of standard kind of week where you're not tapering or recovering.
Yep. So a standard kind of week, if we just look at this NCA season, would be on Mondays we would do a pretty short run, some plyometrics and some stride work, and then follow that up with a hip and core strength work circuit. And then Tuesdays would be a longer thresholdy type session where we might do something fast turnover at the end in the morning, and then just a easy run and a weight session in the afternoon. Wednesday would be a midweek longer run. Thursday
how long would you go?
This year I go 9 miles on a Wednesday, which would be, it's like almost 13 Ks.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yes. Oh, actually,
More than that, wouldn't it? Yeah.
14 and a half. Yeah.
And like when you're on these easy runs, are you going on pace or heart rate, or like just chatting away, or a bit quicker?
Yeah. A lot of the time we just try, especially in cross country season, I clipped along a little bit quicker because I was trying to make sure I had the stamina for a 6K. But as you start to add in the interval work on the track, we sort of kept those runs pretty conversational, would be the pace, which so some days that might mean 7-minute miling, some days that might mean 7:30 miling. Like it was just whatever sort of the legs felt like, and if you could keep a conversation going, you were probably doing it right. There wasn't too much emphasis placed on the pace of those. And then a Thursday would be a little bit more stride work, just a short run, some stride work and some drills. Tune up ready for Fridays was always the big session of the week on the track. So that would be anything from like repeat 300s, 400s, or just like a ladder breakdown that we might do twice. And I had a couple of girls that, like I had Susan Ijore, she's our 800 runner, and Taylor Chiodi was a freshman who came in this year, and they were my main workout partners for the miler-based Fridays. And we had a lot of fun, and we put each other through, and then we would recover really well on a Saturday with either like an off day or really, really slow running just to shake the legs out. And then the standard Sunday long run on Sundays.
And how far on the Sunday?
Anywhere from mainly 12 would be my average, 12 miles, which is just under 20K. And in cross, I was doing 13, which is almost a half marathon, but I would never go the full distance. Everyone would be like, we'd hit 13 miles and I'd be done. Yeah. And the other girls, the endurance, like the 5K, 10K girls would be like, I'm going to 13.1, which is exactly the half marathon. And I was like, no, that doesn't matter. Yeah. 13 full is good for me.
Yeah. How did you go changing from like kilometres to miles when you first got over there?
It was actually a pretty quick transition. Yeah, my first log I handed in, because we were back with Marie, so we had a written paper log, and we'd hand it in on a Monday and get our new one for the upcoming week. And on my first log, I filled it out in Ks. My second one, I filled it out in Ks and then converted it to miles underneath. And then by the third one, I was fully converted. I was in the miles.
Yeah, and like your Garmin or whatever's set to like miles and stuff now, it's all just tuned in.
So technology these days is pretty incredible. So I have my watch beeps on the mile, but when I glance down at my wrist, it tells me in K pace because I can't quickly convert it during a rep. But if I look down and it tells me in K pace, I know exactly where I'm at, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm not too quick off them. If like my coach says something about a pace and she puts it in miles, I do need to, for pacing, I need to convert it back to Ks to sort of understand. But distance and stuff, I'm set on the mileage.
Yeah, and back home we were focused for a minute. I went up to Bankstown and did a 10K up there a couple of weeks ago, and you're like the absolute hero amongst the Bankstown track club up there. They absolutely love you and sing your praises. And I was just wondering,
Yeah.
like that, yeah, it must be pretty special for you as well, that kind of team culture at home. Every time you race, they tag us on the Instagram account and all
Yeah.
your results, and you must be the like favourite daughter up there.
It's pretty it's very cool. It's great to have such a following from my club at home, and they've been super supportive since I first went to Bankstown, and it's kind of cool to have had their support the whole way through as everything's sort of taken off, and they've been there since the start and before all of this happened. So it's definitely something I know is very genuine, and I truly appreciate every little piece of support they provide me, and it's really exciting. Sometimes I see Matt's posts and I get excited by reading them, and I'm like, oh wait, like that's because I did that. But his enthusiasm is incredible, and it's doing wonders for our sport at home. So hopefully we can keep building that profile up a bit more.
Yeah, you're right about it being authentic, because I was watching a YouTube interview that you did with Matt when I think you were about 17. It was before live streams even existed, and I took a photo of the TV last night and just sent it through to him saying, I'm doing a bit of research, look what I've come across. So
Yeah,
it's been long standing for sure.
absolutely. And they're the best kind of partnerships, is the ones that go for a long time. So I think it's going to keep rolling, that's for sure. Thanks,
Yeah.
Town Track Project.
Yeah, they love it. And Jess, where do you get like your inspiration from, like in and outside of running? Anyone that kind of inspires you, or any quotes you kind of live by? Or you seem like a pretty happy person all the time, and yeah, where does that come from?
Yeah, it kind of, I think, if anything, the biggest motivation and everything would just be because I truly love what I'm doing, and I have a lot of fun with it, and I know how to keep it light and kind of prepare myself best for what I'm trying to get out of it. And I'm just super hungry for more. Like, I know it's been great to, in a way, it's definitely a credit to everyone who's developed me so far, but they've always left me with room to grow. And I think that's definitely the biggest motivator, is I want to get the most out of myself in this sport. And I know I still have a long ways to go, and I know there's a lot of hard work to do, but the end goal is just to sort of walk away one day kind of knowing that I've got the most out of myself, and I've achieved the maximum that I could in everything along the way. So I think that definitely motivates me through every single day, is just always knowing that I've got a little more to give, and that there's no limits there. But in terms of people, would definitely be I I really admire the way that Emma Coburn races out there. I'm never going to run the
Yeah.
steeplechase, that's for sure. But I admire the way she puts herself out there every single time, and races just with so much fight and competition amongst an event has been dominated by Africans in the past, and she puts herself in it and just goes hard and sees what she can get, and she ended up being the world champion in
Yeah,
2017.
that was pretty special. Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely that. And then the American girls, even seeing Shelby Houlihan mix it last year in the 1500 is pretty crazy. And then if you look at people similar to my age, you can kind of look right now at what Constance Klosterhalfen is doing. Is like she is just going out there and running incredibly fast, and it's just a matter of, it's sort of showing me is like I'm in a similar position to what these women were at the same age as me, and hopefully I can kind of just keep checking along and ticking boxes, and sort of hopefully end up in the same sort of outlets as what they've found, and just keep enjoying it every single day.
And she's in Oregon as well now. Is she with Salazar?
Yeah, she's up at the Nike Oregon project, so I think she's coached by Pete Julian. So
Okay. Do you come across those guys in training? Like, are you rolling around and Galen Rupp's going past and stuff like that?
No, because we're 2 hours south in Eugene,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
but we
Oh,
do.
yeah,
I
Portland,
mean,
yeah. Sorry.
yeah, the trail system is still pretty populated out here. Like Oregon Track Club is located here,
Yeah.
which is Hannah Green. She's sort of their top woman right now. She just broke 2 for the first time down at Prefontaine and skipped the 159s entirely. She ran 158. So we often see her out there on the trail, and she has the same strength and conditioning coach as what we have here at university, Coach Rad. He works with Oregon Track Club and us. So we see the OTC a lot, and even that's pretty cool. It's watching them do a track session and going to the well is there was one day in the winter here where it was snowing, and we've all gone down to the track at the same time, and they're trying to do a speed session in like really cold. Like it was brutally cold this winter. It was nothing like we'd had before. It was just one of those years. And they're trying to do a speed session, and it did not look fun in the midst of the snow, and you just wouldn't be warm enough to sprint kind of thing. Whereas we were just doing some longer reps and had adapted a little bit to the fact that okay, we're not gonna hit the marks today. We're just gonna have to get the work in as much as we can. And but yeah, it's pretty cool sort of seeing the people that pass through, whether it's for a meet or just visiting out on the trail. Like it's there's a constant population of pretty solid runners out there.
Yeah, and having those American females to look up to as kind of role models and your inspiration as well, do you think that's a good thing compared to some of the Australian athletes? Because you're talking about people who are winning medals and world championships compared to, I think sometimes in Australia we really celebrate when you make a final. Like it's a different kind of level of expectation in a way.
Yeah, it's I was actually talking to one of my teammates about this morning. Is it's there's a little bit of a different mentality in the way people enter races here. I think a lot of people here go into the race with the belief that they can win, and then they race to that, and then realistically they know maybe I'm going to come third, but they go in with the mindset, okay, I'm going to put myself in it to win it, and whatever happens, if I execute my race plan, then I'm really happy with it. So I think there's just a little bit of a mentality difference maybe in the way people approach big races. Maybe you could almost say that we're maybe too realistic at home, is like we kind of go in thinking like, okay, on a great day I can be seventh, and then you kind of settle for that.
Yeah.
Whereas here, that I don't know, it's just a different mindset is everyone here, whether it's just built from confidence, kind of building over time or whatnot. But I kind of look at Shelby Houlihan as someone who, she probably goes into races thinking with her race plan to win that race kind of thing, rather than be like, at best I can be third today. I think that's the difference.
Yeah, and I think we've got that with our marathoners here, like the female, like the Jesses and Sinead, like they all kind of go out there and have a, not that the other people don't have a crack, but it just seems to be you kind of summarise that really well. I won't try and, say any more.
And they're doing incredible things, that's for sure.
Yeah.
In the marathon right now, it's alive and well in Australia, that's for sure.
100%. Any kind of future goals to step up? Like, will we see you in a 5K on the track anytime soon, and then marathon later on? Bit hesitant?
It's hard because I definitely want to stay in the 1500 as long as I can.
Especially while you're doing
But I think I kind of look at it as like, if I'm having this much fun in the sport in 10 years, 13 years, then maybe as a way to kind of like stay in the sport and stay in this lifestyle is maybe eventually it would naturally happen. But I would say right now I don't really have any interest in running a competitive marathon. It just it might begin to make sense over time if I'm still enjoying the sport as much as I do today, and I've got the foundational miles behind me. Is like, you never sort of know. But right now I'm very happy running less than 4 laps.
Wouldn't be great for your fast twitch fibers either, I don't think. So stick with that.
No, I don't think so.
Hey Jess, what book are you reading at the moment? I always like to ask the interviewee what they've got on their bedside table.
Right now I'm really not very far into it at all. I've only read kind of like the intro. I'm reading The Passion Paradox by James Magnuson.
Yeah.
And, no, not James Magnuson.
He's a swimmer.
Steve
Magnus.
Steve Magnus, that's it. I did the same thing the other day when I was telling my dad about it, because I started reading it and I was like, oh, you've got to read this. And I muddled up the author exactly like that again. Apologies. But it's pretty cool, and I've sort of read some pretty good reviews on it. I think Shalane Flanagan sort of said that the whole time she read the book, she was sitting there thinking, oh my God, this is me. So I think I might have a few of those moments coming my way, even after just reading sort of the preface. So yeah, I'll be diving into it over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and with the study wrapped up, what do you do for balance now? Like, you'll obviously still doing all the running stuff, but do you have something that you'll keep your mind occupied with?
Yeah, so right now I'm still studying until July 18th. I'm in a summer session, and it's just a 4-week kind of crash course, and it's just wrapping up my last 4 credits that I need. to like seal my transcripts. So I've got the balance still through July, which everyone was kind of like, oh, summer school, why? And I was like, no, I'm actually excited because it keeps me in my routine and got me through Prefontaine without really sort of changing anything up. And then after that, I hopefully sort of the last week of July, I'll probably be doing some moving and finding my new apartment wherever that may be. And so that'll take me through till August, and then I'll sort of see where I'm at. But I want to do some further studying sort of just on the side for the rest of the year. I'm looking at sort of maybe doing my personal training certificate via correspondence and or like a nutrition coaching certificate, just to good things to have that match my human physiology degree pretty well and overlap a little bit. And then in the future, I definitely want to find like a more like solid, probably graduate degree that I can do sort of via correspondence, because it's a good lifestyle. It's a good balance to have, is a little bit of study, train hard, recovery hard, fit it in when you can, and sort of just keep learning as I grow. And then that way I've got, if I when I'm done in a decade or so's time, then I'll have something to fall back on and I'll be ready for the next phase.
Yeah, ready for the workplace.
Yeah.
And final one, do you miss the Australian kind of culture being over there in the States? Like, you seem to enjoy it a lot. Like, do you have moments where you get a bit homesick? And I suppose with that, the difference between how both the cultures treat distance running.
Yeah, I'm lucky here in Eugene. Is like everything is, whenever you visit Eugene and compare Eugene to anywhere else, even in Oregon and beyond, it's a very slow paced lifestyle here, which is it's pretty similar to home. Is like people don't get stressed, people are pretty chill, they're not really in a hurry to do anything. It kind of, everyone just does everything on their own schedule, and I love that because it's very, very familiar, I feel. And but the appreciation for distance running here, especially being in Eugene, is like 100-fold. It's actually crazy, and it's pretty contagious culture. Like, you definitely see within the community as people that weren't runners themselves still have a true interest and a deep interest in what at least the Oregon Ducks are doing, kind of thing, and beyond that. So I think in 2016 I was here during the Olympic trials. I was still here in the summer when they were on, and watching the way like Hayward Field went off just for the Olympic trials, which is in the US is huge because it's their like cut for it criteria to get to the Olympics. But it was phenomenal watching just how involved the crowd was and how knowledgeable they are. Like, they know everyone in the event, and they know what certain times mean and what certain jumps mean, and how far someone throws the discus, and they know exactly what that means, like kind of within the scheme of things, which is pretty cool to be immersed in, especially like if like you love track and field like I do. Is it's pretty cool to be surrounded by a lot of people that truly understand what you're doing. But there's definitely room to grow that culture at home, that's for sure, over time.
Yeah, awesome answer. And awesome for giving us some time today, Jess. We really appreciate it on behalf of the other boys that helped me with the Inside Running podcast, that you're so open and kind of shared your stories and your journey so far, and we wish you all the best going forward in what's going to be a super exciting career.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
No worries at all. We're not sure when we're going to see you again race, but I'm sure you'll be in action soon, and the listeners be able to, we'll kind of read out your results and stuff on the show. So worth looking out for.
Thank you. Absolutely.
And I'm gonna hold my head up high. I was told as a young man, doesn't matter if you're white or black. Just show love to everyone you meet. Doesn't matter if